Hola, bandita de Espacio Cripto, ¿cómo están? Ahí vieron a Lalo. Ahí vieron al Founder Mode. ¿Cómo están? Bienvenidos. Hace mucho no me metí a un live, creo. Estoy muy emocionado. Venimos cocinando cositas muy interesantes para la Startup House de Starknet y Espacio Cripto en Monterrey. Después de este workshop habrá un alfa muy interesante de lo que se viene. Y pues bueno, justo estábamos tripeando la idea de hey, cómo empujar a más proyectos dentro de la Startup House, cómo motivarlos, cómo ayudarlos a crecer su emprendimiento para que puedan aplicar a esta gran iniciativa. Y justo Dan, que ahorita lo presentaré unos minutillos, Dan se le ocurrió hacer un launchpad de workshops. Esto con la idea de encaminar a los proyectos de 0 a 100 por un buen camino, con grandes expertos, con grandes mentores, para darles consejos, ayudarlos a encaminar su proyecto por buen camino. Y hoy tenemos el primero de ellos. Nos acompaña Paul Gadi, founder de OP Games desde Canadá. Es una compañía de videojuegos muy enfocada a la era de Web3, al AI, a la tecnología y sobre todo a la distribución de juegos de manera descentralizada. Y pues quiero presentar, bueno, primero voy a presentar a Dan. ¿Está bien, Dan? Si te presento. Sí, bueno. Creo que es tu introducción oficial dentro de el mundo Espacio Cripto. Dan nos está ayudando en muchas cosas en Bando y en Espacio Cripto y sobre todo a liderar esta iniciativa y a crear esta serie de workshops para todos ustedes. Dan, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué opinas de esto que andamos armando?
¿Qué onda todos? Contento, gracias, emocionado y un poquito con los nervios, ya sabes, de que tiene que salir súper bien. Entonces, thanks Paul for collaborating with us. Gracias a todos por venir y la intención es que todo el mundo le saque provecho a esto, que todos aprendamos, que todos salgamos con algo que podamos hacer mejor en nuestro proyecto startup a partir de este workshop y los que siguen. Pues chido, gracias.
Yes. I think esto va a ser en inglés, banda. Espero todo bien. So we think we can present Paul. Dan, I think that I want to give you the pleasure to present Paul. I know that he's your friend and you know him very good. So present Paul, please.
Of course, thank you. For me, Paul is more like a mentor. I've been trying to get into the gaming industry for a while, and through an amazing fellowship, for instance, I strongly recommend you to consider applying Kernel. I find out a mentor who leads the game guild inside the fellowship. What did different between different mentors I crossed by professional life is Paul is also resourceful as me. So being an independent game developer requires to use and learn to use many tools, and I think that Paul has this skill. Paul is also very capable to develop, launch, and scale a game, so that's something really cool to learn from. And yeah, I think that I would like to introduce Paul as a friend and as a mentor for the last year. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Dan. I really appreciate the introduction. And I'm glad to have met you through the Kernel Fellowship. Um, and hello to everyone. I wish I could speak Spanish. I'm Filipino, so I understand a little bit of the words. Like instead of como estas, we say como está. So yeah, so I got maybe a third of what you and Acid were talking about. But I'm happy to let me know how you want this to go. I have a few slides that I can present, but I'm also hoping that we get some participation from the Monterey attendees. I took a look at what their experiences were and what the projects they're working on. So my hope is whatever I share, they might find something that they want to ask more about as we talk about Web3 distribution. And yeah, so I'm
Nice,
looking
nice.
forward to getting started. Yeah.
Yeah, we can start right now. Paul, tell us about what is your workshop, and if you want to start, we can do it right now. So
Sure. Yeah. We can put up the slides as it.
Yeah, here you go.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. All right, so today we'll be talking about Web3 distribution strategies. As Dan mentioned, I've been in the Web3 space for quite a while. I've been mostly focused around the games industry, but I've also been doing a lot of apps and also looking at AI around the space. So my current work is on my current startup called OP Games. We did spin up a research lab called Cosmic Labs, which does more of the AI stuff. And then I want to share also some of the AI agents that we did on Virtuals, a platform called Virtuals, and it's called and the token is called Nudes, which I'll talk a little bit about later. Okay. And if anyone has any questions, just post them on StreamYard. And I know Acid, you'll be sharing some as well from the other channels. Right? Cool. Okay. So as I mentioned, we're OP Games. I've been a game developer most of my life. I've been making games for around 20 years. And Web3, I guess when we started seeing Web3, it was in the context of how it can change games. And that was the time when no one knew what a token was, at least in the context of blockchain. No one knew what NFTs were. And when we were doing that research, that's when we kind of made that connection uh, where if we are already making virtual items for games. So if you play games, for example, I don't know what's a popular game in Central or South America, probably like MOBAs like Dota or League of Legends. If you guys play that, like a lot of the games are have like skins as virtual items, and you buy these items, right? And in the case of Web3, like we thought like it's a natural connection to try and put those things on the blockchain, right? Because being on the blockchain, it's decentralized. It allows you to build more ecosystems around that. So that's kind of how we got started in Web3. But as we've seen with technology, right, it moves like even now, like you kind of need to consider what kind of technology improves or affects your businesses. And it's changed a lot right now, like especially with AI. And so we've started migrating towards AI. Uh, but before that, we've really been focused around the Web3 token part. Like we've done a lot of engagements with gaming guilds, for example. I think gaming guilds were also a significant part of Web3 in South America. And but now we really our heritage really is around games, game development, and game design. So we think deeply around game design. We run conferences around how to think of AI game design, and just how to make apps and games that allow you to build on the new thing, right? The new thing that technology allows you to do. Right? Maybe I just talk about news later on around the AI part, but I did wanna go deep into the distribution, Web3 distribution aspect. So I think the a good way to look at distribution, right, is it's how do you get your app to users, and how do you I guess how do you also get them to engage with your app? And I wanted to share my perspective on games. So when games were coming out, um, and this is around I would say around the social network era, wherein people were starting to get online because of Facebook. We saw game design change, and we saw distribution change, right? Like before, when we were distributing games, it was mostly around burning them on a CD, and then you would sell them on brick and mortar stores. Then the internet came around, and then games started coming out on the internet. Games started coming out on your phones, and then games started to be, I guess, distributed, and people got their news from social networks. And so the mechanics of games and the game industry shifted. And you could see also how significant that shift was in how the language of game design changed. So before, when you were making a game, I don't know how old people were, but I grew up in the 80s. And so the games that I played were like the Nintendo family computer games, games on the PlayStation. Right. So uh, a lot of the games then weren't designed with social networks or in-app purchases or ads, right? And as this started, as Facebook, social networks, and the internet just became more significant, it really changed how game designers talk. Like I would go to game developers conferences, and most of the people were talking about frameworks like this. So the funnel and the pyramid, which was, I would say, very much influenced by web marketing, right? Like you need a funnel, meaning you need to be able to get a lot of people to notice your app from the top of the funnel, and then as they go deeper into your app, a few more people will fall off, right? So it's just a natural way for us to acquire users and for you to be able to distribute your users is you kind of get a lot of folks into that funnel, and then you should be able to monetize that percentage of people who stay. And so with that in mind, right, you can kind of see how your games have to be designed in that way. So if you play a lot of games like Dota, for example, or Mobile Legends, or some of these other mobile games, um, they're kind of designed for you to build a habit around coming back, because they want you to be at the bottom of that funnel where you're effectively, I guess, a big fan. And so the other, I guess, framework to think about this is the pyramid. So it's like the reverse funnel, right? So in this case, you offer free stuff to the people on top of the funnel, and then eventually, as they go deeper and deeper and become a bigger fan of your app, and then they become the whales or the super fans, the people who pay for the game. So they're the ones who buy all the stuff in the store in these games. And so with that in mind, right, you kind of see how game design will change. A lot of game designers now start using this framework called the core loop, where you design your game around what resource can I earn and what resource can I let go of, what resource should I make, I guess, a crunch out of, so that players will feel the need to purchase something. So yeah, so you may like these kinds of designs or not, but that's really what the system has optimized for, right? So in terms of Web3, I think it's good to think of this as well. Like what 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 are the habit forming stuff that you need to do in your app? What are the core loops that people come to your app for and do and then go out of? And yeah, just how they make your app really engaging. Because if you want to distribute your app well, then there's also the concept of like of the leaky bucket, right? When if your app isn't really retaining people, then you're spending a lot of money on this funnel and you're not really gaining money from this monetization part. Um, yeah, and I did want to share some of these terms, motivations, right? Like think deeply about what the motivations are of your users. So if these are Web3 folks, like I see some of the startups here are around payments. So what are the motivations of people who are using payments across the world? In our case, in the Philippines, a lot of the initial Web3 use cases were about remittances, because people will send money from where they work in the US and here in Canada or wherever and send it back to their home country. So that is like a motivation you can kind of interrogate further. And what are the incentives as well? So in this case, a lot of these games, they give you free stuff, right? And if you see in Web3, there's also like airdrops. These are the incentives that happen. And yeah, and these other terms are mostly game terms, but daily active users, how much they retain, like day 1, day 7, day 30, the virality of your app, the K factor, churn, meaning how many people are going through that leaky bucket. Convert is how many people you get to convert and get payments or monetize or become super fans. And of course, play to earn. Like this was a big narrative around Web3. Um, right now, I think play to earn is kind of searching for its soul. Like that, it was very popular in the past few cycles, but now I think people are kind of rethinking how to do Web3 gaming, and yeah, and that's also something very interesting that I would love to
Yeah.
like or more. Yeah, and yeah,
Hey,
so
Paul.
is there something you wanted to add?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that a lot of people don't know that gaming was like the initial stuff of Web3. I
Hmm.
don't know, because you remember when the born of Ethereum, when Vitalik they stole their stuff on World of Warcraft, something like that,
Hmm. Yes. Yeah.
and then he said, "Oh, I'm gonna make Ethereum," and so
Yeah.
video
Hmm.
games are really like linked to Web3 and all this stuff that you mentioned, the play to earn, the conversion, all that elements that converge in one make a good Web3 gaming experience, and that's cool. That I think
Yeah.
that we need more gaming, like real gaming, not just little games and stuff, and that's really cool that they're making, guys.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, yeah. Like I know that story, of course, and it was like a perfect example of the use case of decentralization and Web3, right? Wherein like if you don't really have influence over the game design, right, then there's nothing you can do. Like there are some great examples of that in games wherein um like you bought this skin, right, and then the game just shuts down, and so you're like, what do I do with these items, right? And they're all just trapped in there. So that was kind of our initial inspirations for why we went into games and Web3. um I think just to add more nuance to that, right? Like people still haven't figured out how to build a good sustainable ecosystem around virtual items, because the challenge there is since it's like a liquid item, right? It influences, or it's able to move across ecosystems. So it's sort of like money now. So you can kind of have to build a stable monetary policy around that, right? And frankly, like there's not a lot of good products that have done that. So it might be something that the folks on the startup hacker house might figure out, right? And just to the point on building on Starknet, there's a lot of smart folk thinking about on-chain games on Starknet. There's this current game called Ethereum, which is an on-chain game. And so yeah, so I engaged the startup people to take a look at the on-chain startup ecosystem on Starknet, because that's very like galaxy brain folks thinking about that. Uh, cool, yeah, and just go through the rest of my slides so we can have more space. Yeah, so I do have about 3 more slides, and then we can open the floor for questions, and maybe we can also have a discussion as it. Um, but yeah, as for distribution strategies, right? Like I think about it in like 4, I would say, pillars. First is like how do you acquire your users first, meaning how do you get your app into their hands? Uh, and and there are many ways to do this. These are just a few that I guess I think make sense in the context of games. One is of course ads, right? As you're scrolling through your phone, you get a lot of ads. A lot of games do their distribution through that way. We have a challenge with Web3 wherein since it's crypto, right? It's not you, sometimes these channels don't really allow you to do that. So, but there are still a lot. Yeah, it depends on how you, I guess, how you go through these platforms. Of course, airdrops, right? Like I saw people are building wallets, for example, here on the startup list. So if you make an airdrop, that's an incentive for people to download your app, right? And that's what the play to earn stuff has done pretty well, I would say. That's how they were able to do that. And partnerships, of course, there are ways for you to build partnerships with other established communities, and then platforms, right? So what platform will you put your app on? So most of the time it's on the web. There's just a URL that you go through, and you're able to share your app there. You can make a native app around it on Android or iOS. And also now there are other, I guess, channels, right? Like if you're on Firecaster, for example, there are people building apps that run on Firecaster frames, mini apps on Telegram as well, and maybe on chain also. But there are some, um, I guess, interesting apps early on in Web3 where they're fully on chain. Like you can interact with the smart contract. It's not a great user experience, right? But it's very decentralized. Um, okay, and then for communities, right? Like so, this is, I would say, a way to think of who are your target market. Um, like Web3 has a very specific niche, I would say, where there are some guilds, there are people who own specific tokens, and if you're building something that are focused more around builders, right, there's also developers. So I mentioned that because in our case, we are, aside from us building our games, we also build a platform called Arcadia where people can put their games on there and just figure out how to build monetization channels around their games. So yeah, so think of who your target market is, and that would, I guess, make you spend less on distribution, right? Because you know who really are going to use your app. And then lastly, retention, right? How do you stop people from just churning? Um, for example, in Web3, we see a lot of these, I guess, questing platforms. So they do social campaigns. I think Galaxy is an example of one. I forget a few others, but there are some non-Web3 ones wherein you tweet, for example, or you just do some sort of quest and you're rewarded. Um, of course, games, right? Games are one of the best way to retain people because they're already designed for you to play a game, to keep your attention on there, and to be rewarded as you play them. Um, and since we're in Web3, I would say if your token or whatever airdrop you do allows people to get some sort of return, right, then that's a reason for them to be retained. And last, I think, which is the most important one, I feel, is fandom, right? Like people will care if it's like an IP or intellectual property that they love, right? For example, if there are games that you love, or there are shows that you like, and you attach that to your app or to your game, right? Then sometimes people will just play them even if it's not fun, right? Just because they love this app and they have an affinity for that IP. So that's really still something to think about. All right, and I guess with the last few slides, I did want to touch on AI because we did pivot to AI, as I mentioned, and this is because we realized that the world will change with AI. Like, frankly, also I started as a game developer, and when I saw GPT-3 and see how it coded better than me, it gave me an existential crisis. Honestly, like I feel like, what am I even doing? Right? Well, if this code can be done better by someone else, then yeah, then maybe it's time for me to like think of what's the next step. And so I would engage the startup folks to always think about that. Um, One thing that I still feel we're at is we don't really realize how deeply this will go. Like I shared some examples of images here wherein like this is I forget his name, but this is like the Go player who was defeated by uh, by the AI, right? And in that case, it was like when the AI made that move, it was so shocking to him. Like he thought like there must be something wrong with this AI. Like it doesn't make sense what this move does, but it went on to defeat him, right? And just really win in a very different way. And so it's that kind of, I guess, paradigm breaking thing that happens with AI. And I share also some movies I think that I feel are a good way for us to take a look at this. Because science fiction is science fiction until it becomes real, right? And we're kind of seeing that happening now with AI. And this movie on the right is Arrival. So I like this one because it it engages us to think of how language is really different if you're like a new kind of AI species, right? So in the case of Arrival, the language was this circular monolith, and if you think of AI and how it converses with us now, it's so different, right? And so yeah, and so I think it's good to break ourselves away from our current modes of thinking and think of how it will change. Yeah, and yeah, I'm glad that people see the Go game and are, yeah, appreciative of it. And one last one is I think it's Three Body Problem, right? It's another show that I engage people to watch because it's like I don't want to spoil a lot of it, but the Three Body Problem is really around thinking of how math is different, like how we're thinking about math are just the models that we're used to, but there's uh like it's a model, right? Models are just an estimation of how things really work. And so what does it mean if, for example, AI can think of in a different manner than us? Then yeah, it is all just so new that we need to be cognizant of. Um, cool. Okay. And yeah, so I guess I want to share a little bit of our ideas, right? Like I mentioned Nudes, which is our vibe coding game developer agent. The idea here is we're building a game agent that's trying to do what we ourselves are doing, and but in collaboration with humans. And so this is an absurd idea, I think. When I explain it to folks, sometimes it takes a while for them to understand, and I do feel like the actual, I guess, kernels of truth where people can discover something comes from these absurd ideas. Like in terms of games, um, if people played Fortnite, for example, that game, it was an absurd game. Like the idea there was, can we fit like 100 players in a game? And before then, like that was impossible. People couldn't do that. And then they went ahead and did it, right? And so if you can kind of something like that around your app that is absurd, that has, I guess, something that people will connect with, then yeah, then I think go explore that, because I feel like, especially in Web3, right? We're doing a lot of stuff, and just we're in echo chambers where we kind of like listen to the same things. So try and break the mold as you think of what you're building. All right, yeah, and I hope that was useful to everyone. As I mentioned, we are ourselves building a game developer agent. And if anyone also wants to have, I guess, wants to discuss that, I know we're in a Web3 distribution workshop, but yeah, but AI, I feel, is something that we all should be cognizant of. Yeah. All right. I think we lost Acid. Or Acid, if you're there, like we're done with
Yeah, here,
that's the
here.
last slide. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Paul. I really
Of
like your
course.
presentation. It was like a mix of history and Web3 gaming, motivation to other builders. It was really
Yeah.
good. So, Paul, I have a
Thank you.
question. So,
Of course.
how, how do you see the future of Web3 gaming in the, like, I don't know, maybe in the next 10 years, I think.
Wow.
How do
Like,
you see it?
oh man, like yeah, like that's a tough question.
It
As like
was a tough question.
yeah, like I can't even imagine it like 5 years from now. Like I was just watching a talk around just where the AI pioneers are seeing AI go 5 years from now. Like even them, they feel like it's hard for them to predict what's gonna happen, because AI moves so fast. Like like I mentioned GPT-3 when it came out, right? I was like I thought it was doing code well, but I thought maybe this is like 5 years still too early. Like it's not doing things as well enough. And then nowadays, like I use it mostly for coding. Like it does most of my code for me already. I trust it enough to be able to do that. And so just maybe we can be more speculative around the 10-year question, right? Like and and I think sci-fi honestly is a good way to take a look at that, because people actually look at sci-fi to kind of see what kind of things they should be building. Um, so if you look at the natural progression of AI, right now it's mostly on gains. It's mostly like digital intelligence, but now people are using it, for example, for physical. I guess that's the current roadblock, is physical AI, right, where the robots aren't able to move as well as they think. But I think we're already able to move past that pretty soon. I've seen videos of, for example, robots fighting in boxing arenas. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but people are just making these fighting robots already. So I guess my exciting prediction for AI is games will move away from the current games that we have, wherein we're just scrolling and tapping stuff, right? But building more games around physical AI interactions. We're going to start having AI, like actual AI personalities as well. And I've seen this happen. For example, people are using AI to, I guess, to have friends with, and also to like build relationships with, because people are lonely, right? We have a loneliness epidemic in the world, and they're building these things. So yeah, so just projecting 10 years out from what that is right now, right? You can kind of see it becoming very crazy. People will have robots; they will be talking to these robots, and yeah, it's not so far off. Like I think
Yeah.
that's definitely going to happen. Yeah,
Yeah, I totally agree. So
yeah.
I originally a graphic designer, and when
Mm.
all the ChatGPT, Ghibli stuff start to coming out, I
Oh
was like,
man, yeah,
oh man,
yeah,
my career is
yeah.
over. I
I
need to
know.
learn like electricity or something, So,
Yeah,
well, yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah. But I would suggest you to keep using those as like this is our challenge, right?
yeah,
Like I think a lot of us, that the current skills that we have will need to be upgraded, right? And you're gonna have to, instead of making these things yourself, is to kind of understand how to use them and orchestrate them. So the hope is you become a better creator and builder as you use them, right? But of course, there's always the
Sure.
challenge of it taking away what you're good at. So yeah, so we need to balance those two things.
Yeah, yes, totally.
Yeah.
Here we have a question of Val. If I'm not a dev, can I join? I think
Hmm.
you are referred to the startup house, I think, but maybe Paul, can you, I don't know, can you tell us the importance of not technical people on teams? Because
Hmm.
there's
For sure.
a big taboo on people that if I'm not a developer, I cannot hack or maybe make an application or something. But application it needs everyone, it needs all the aspects. So in your experience, what's the importance of
Yes.
having not technical people on teams?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like that's a great question. I think like even more so now with AI, like being a dev is less and less I guess less and less of a priority. And I think the valuable thing here now actually is to have the taste for what you're building. I mentioned taste. It's a word that I fixate on recently because when I work with AI, I find that doesn't have taste. It's for example, make a game like this, and then it's usually like something boring. And taste, I think, can come from like a wide variety. I find honestly, like technical people like me don't have like the greatest taste, right? Like it's designers like you actually do have like the best taste. You can kind of look with your human eyes and see what's good. You can use I guess, your experience in your human experience in watching the right movies and looking at the right media to guide them towards making a great product. So yeah, so I would say with vibe coding, just example download Cursor, which is an IDE, or even go to sites like Replit and just try to make your own app using natural language. Will get you a long way. You will still need to learn um, how to use these tools properly, but I think the bar has lowered now, wherein you don't have to be like a dev to start building. You can realize your idea just by using these AI tools. So you can start with that, and then as you understand how they build, how they work, then you naturally become a dev. I think like all of us are developers now because of what's happening with AI.
Yeah, totally. The vibe coding
Mm.
is like the one of the main stuff on crypto Twitter and all that stuff. So yeah,
Mhm.
everyone's welcome to hack to build their own application. I know I want to like if alguien tiene una pregunta, puede escribirla aquí. If anyone has a question, you can write it right here. But yeah, Paul, if I want to go into to the conclusion, and I have a very like good question for you. Like, what's your biggest advice for people that are starting to making their own company, especially a
Mhm.
Web3 company?
Yeah.
What is like the biggest advice that you gave to those people?
Oh yeah. Like, that's a good question. I think like just looking back through how we were able to grow our company, like I think what people are doing here with the Hacker House is a really good way to do it. But in our case, also like we were part of a few accelerators, like the accelerator that Dan and I were part of called Kernel. We took part with the Berkeley Blockchain Accelerator and Outlier Ventures one. So I think just being in those networks will allow you to make the right connections and also like to sharpen your thinking, right? Like I would say some people will have an idea around their startup, and most of the time, that's not going to be what will be the one that's important or the one that gets traction. Um, so yeah, so be part of those networks. Also, yeah, just use these tools to build as effectively as you can. I understand now, like because of AI, things are moving so fast, and sometimes all of us will get a little bit of paralysis on just what can I build now that we're using now that people are building this as fast as these. Like I don't even have time to build stuff, right? So I would say, yeah, just improve your workflows, be part of these networks, build with the other folks on the Hacker House, and yeah, I think that will kind of lead you to traction, which will lead you to be able to either fundraise or build good revenue out of your product. Right?
So cool. and now that you're talking about AI and implementations, Braulio, I think it's from Cashabroad, I think. Braulio asks, what AI coding tools do you recommend more based on your experience?
Yeah, for sure. Like I think like I would say choose one, or it's good to kind of evaluate them and see which one fits your workflow. In my case, I use Cursor a lot, Braulio. Like it's I find it's useful because I think Cursor does a good job of like thinking around how it's easy to put prompts on the agent. Um, yeah, so I would suggest Cursor if you're coding. If you're building other things like front end, there's v0.dev. There's Lovable. I think some people are using Lovable as well. But I would say just starting with Cursor. And if you're not a developer and you don't like to set up stuff on your PC, Replit is a good one also. Because Replit, you just chat with it and it will deploy it immediately on a website. So you can share it with other folks. And I've heard of people building games and they're not coders at all. So they're able to make a game and just share it with the people who they want to share it with. So yeah, so Cursor and Replit
Nice,
are the
nice,
first ones I would suggest. Yeah.
nice. Yeah, cool. Well, I really love your presentation, Paul. I feel
Thank you,
like
Acid.
very
Yeah.
motivated about the stuff we're
That's
doing,
great.
and
Yeah.
I would like to invite Dan to like, oh, a last question. Uh, Val, you're on fire, Val. So, Val, as a Latin market, what's the biggest value we can add to the startup house? Okay, maybe you can give us like your opinion about the Latin American market. How do you see it like in the Web3 company like stuff?
Yeah. Like I feel like it's good for us to add Dan into this conversation. But in my case, Acid, like
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know how similar it is with some of the other countries that are using crypto, right? Like I see there were similarities with the gaming guilds in the Philippines and, for example, in Brazil. Like we were talking with some Brazilian folks who are also forming big guilds. Um, so if you are looking into games, right, I think yeah, like it is an opportunity because we have a sizable population. We have sizable populations in both countries, right? Who I guess are hungry to find ways to be able to use crypto and earn crypto. And I feel like yeah, like if you're able to I apologize that a lot of my thinking is around the gaming side, right? But if you're able to make a game that I guess that is of I guess the people in your area would want to play, right? Like maybe there might be a specific game that's specific to that might be I guess a catalyst for people to get to use crypto. Because as you mentioned, Acid, right? A lot of the Web3 stuff started with games, with Vitalik wanting to build a network to be able to move items around, with the play to earn stuff, with NFTs also, and now with all the games that are coming out to guide to engage folks, right? Then yeah, just build something like that people will love, and I think that's gonna go a long way.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Yeah. So then, can if you want to like use a final words to Paul, like we have a little alpha uh, of the venue and all that stuff I have prepared. So yeah, I don't want to give like a conclusion to Paul's thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you, AC. Just sharing some thoughts regarding Val's question. Something that Paul and I have discussed previously on previous conversations is how similar Latin American market and Philippine market are. The Web3 adoption is driven by payments, by fintech mainly, because we are countries very sensitive to inflation, and Web3 infrastructure has enabled us to relieve, sort of relieve that pain through the rails that communities like ours or many communities have built around 10 years or so. So something that is really exciting for me talking about games is people who know me a little bit. As if you are getting to know me, Paul, you're getting to know me, and you know I'm sort of a hater that this is the only use case driving adoption because I think culturally wise, our regions can bring a lot more than payments, thinking product wise. So for Latin America market, I think that the great opportunity is to build something different, something engaging. And there are many tools right now to be resourceful. I don't believe, I don't know, Paul, if you can want to correct me. I don't believe you can make a robust product out of vibe coding. And I'm a vibe coder developer myself that I've made a couple of games through these tools. But I think there are tools powerful enough to test ideas, powerful enough to test different user segment assumptions. But as you scale, you will require to robust your tool stack to bring a more wider tool stack. So my recommendation is leverage these tools to make MVPs, to get initial traction, to get validations, and take it from there. Like many of us who have been builders previously, we get to the big scaling problem like 2 or 3 years after we get into something. So there's enough time to figure out things and leverage these AI tools. My closing remarks are just thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much, Paul, for sharing all your thoughts and your knowledge. Thank you, Asi, for being the MC. So charismatic MC. Just a quick announcement that is not the alpha. It's just remember next week, same hour, we have the next workshop. The next workshop is going to be also a little bit AI biased, but I think that coming from payments, we will have a product manager from PayPal giving us product management tools and frameworks for building products in Web3 space. So thank you very much for joining, and I give back the microphone to Asit.
Oh, sorry.
I'm
You're on
muted.
mute.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah. Paul, thank you so much for your talk. I
of
really
course. Yeah.
enjoyed it, and I think that the audience enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for all your advices or your all the info, the history of Web3 gaming. Yeah, we are going to keep tuned to all the updates of OP games and all your updates in life, and hope we can keep collaborating in the future. And if you want to come to Monterrey, you're really invited.
Oh,
Thank you so
I'd
much,
love
Paul.
to. Yeah.
And now,
Yeah.
you want to say bye or final words to the Espacio Cripto
Yeah.
community?
I would, of course, yeah, I would say good luck to the startup house folks. Like I wish I could be there. Like it sounds like a fun way for you to just build fun things that people will use, right? So yeah. So
Hmm.
and I'm happy to be here. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much. And yeah, see you later. Thank you.
Here. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Bueno, ahora cambiamos a español y solo le quería compartir un poco de alfa. No sé cómo, creo que están viendo mi pantalla, no sé cómo abrir aquí el Figma este. Ah, aquí está. Ok, sorry. Bueno, como les decía, les teníamos un poco de alfa. Aquí dejen añado al Dan. Tenemos un poco de alfa de lo que estamos cocinando con Startup House. Les presentamos que ya tenemos venue oficial para la Startup House en Monterrey del 18 al 20 de junio. Va a ser en las instalaciones del TEC de Monterrey, obviamente Campus Monterrey. Y ahí va a estar, no sé si escuchan un ruidajo de fondo, perdón. Dan, si quieres continuar.
Venga, sí, gracias, Asit. Eh, Va a ser dentro del Distrito de Innovación del TEC de Monterrey, Campus Monterrey, obviamente. Hay un venue bastante nuevo, bastante cool que se llama Expedition by FEMSA. Es un venue 100% pensado para este tipo de dinámicas, eventos de innovación, hackatones, pláticas y, bueno, el equipo del TEC. Shout out to Rob, que Rob está conectado por ahí. fue el rifado que se encargó de gestionar esto. Contamos con el Expedition FEMSA para hacer el workshops, sesiones de trabajo y aparte vamos a tener un espacio privado como eh, de esparcimiento. Esparcimiento se me hace una palabra muy señorial, pero un chill zone y un more relaxed way of work zone. Y la parte como más on hands, más técnica, donde vamos a contar con el apoyo de mentores, mentores externos traídos por nosotros, VCs traídos por nosotros, pero también algunos cuantos profesores del TEC interesados en involucrarse en contribuir a la comunidad van a estar en este espacio. Va a ser del 18 al 20 de junio en el Expedition FEMSA, en el Centro de Innovación de Monterrey, del TEC de Monterrey. Entonces, pues, estamos esperando sus aplicaciones.
Venga, pues ahí lo tienen. Y si están interesados en unirse a la Startup House, todos son bienvenidos. Solo ayúdenos contestando esta forms. Queremos saber más de ustedes, más de sus proyectos, por qué quieren ser founders, por qué quieren crear una startup y sobre todo, si ya cuentan con un MVP de su proyecto, créanme que ya tienen un pie adentro. Les recordamos que esta iniciativa, además de las mentorías y de todo lo que vamos a hacer ahí por el TEC, incluye hospedaje y alimentos y pues sobre todo un cotorreo bien chido con Espacio Cripto y la bandita de Starknet que va a venir. Y lo más importante, van a poder obtener grants de 25K dólares para seguir impulsando su proyecto de la mano con Starknet Foundation. Y pues nada, eso es, escanean el QR, los lleva al Forms, está muy
Nada
sencillo.
más,
¿Sí?
ponte el QR, güey.
Ah, no, no lo estoy compartiendo. Todo. Una disculpa. ¿Lo ven? Está, una disculpa. Ahí está el Forms donde se van a poder inscribir. Esta es la preselección. Aquí Tori nos pregunta, solo es un formulario para registrarse. ¿Y cuál es? Creo que te registraste, Tori. Acabo de ver tu respuesta en el Forms. Pero sí, este Forms nos va a ayudar a preseleccionar los proyectos de una manera más sencilla, más personal con ustedes. Entonces, si están interesados en aplicar el Startup House, solo escaneen este código QR y los lleva al Forms. Y pues nada, eso sería todo. Muchas gracias por sintonizarnos. La siguiente semana habrá otro workshop, Dan, creo. Y entonces ahí en las redes sociales les compartimos el ponente y su plática y sobre todo la hora y todo eso para que se conecten. Me gustó mucho cómo fue esta plática, entonces espero nos puedan seguir acompañando. Y pues nada, muchas gracias. Dan, ¿te quieres despedir de la banda?
Simón, nada más gracias. Así, nada más acabar de crashear tu anuncio. La intención es todos los miércoles a la misma hora, como decía, los que crecimos en los 80s, 90s, como decían en Canal 5, misma hora, mismo canal, todos los miércoles 9 de la mañana. Vamos a tener un workshop hasta que estemos en real life en Monterrey. El de la semana que entra es Product Management with AI y lo va a impartir un Senior Product Manager de PayPal que tiene muchas experiencias muy interesantes, sobre todo en relación a cómo implementar grandes soluciones a Enterprise. Creo que nos va a dar una gran perspectiva de cómo se hacen estas negociaciones comerciales, cómo se tiene que contemplar un SLA, cómo puedes validar y construir un producto de cara a apuntar a ese tipo de clientes. Entonces, creo que va a haber mucho que aprender y como dijo, ha sido al principio de esta conversación. Esta iniciativa es simplemente para prepararnos para llegar con un proyecto muy sólido, con un muy buen músculo a Monterrey. Repito, ya lo mencionó Asid, es altamente probable que los equipos seleccionados tengan la oportunidad de ganar un grant de $25,000 por parte de Starknet Foundation. Entonces, la intención de este Launchpad es que incrementar las probabilidades de que eso suceda, que tengan todas las probabilidades o todas las herramientas necesarias para que eso suceda. Gracias.
Venga. No, gracias, Dan. Vi a mucha gente nueva en los comentarios que nunca había visto en las transmisiones, entonces los invitamos a seguir Espacio Cripto para que estén al pendiente de la Startup House. Y pues nada, nos vemos la próxima semana en otro workshop. Y muchas gracias, banda, por sintonizar. Nos vemos tarde. Quien esté en Ciudad de México, nos vemos la semana aquí con Uniswap. Estamos haciendo cositas muy chidas. Y pues nada, Gracias y adiós.